and we will now move right into our organizational meeting. So with that, we are just going to continue on a live thread. Okay. So now I will welcome everyone to the Crestwood School District's annual organizational board meeting for Monday, July 26, 2021, and call this meeting to order at 6:36. And I'm going to ask Madam Secretary to take roll.
Mrs. Berry?
Here.
Ms. Salzayat?
Here.
Ms. Fawaz?
Here.
Mr. Garcia?
Here.
Myself, Ms. Kaminsky?
Here.
Mr. Saba?
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
All right, and with that, I am now going to turn the gavel over to our superintendent, who will take the very first portion. Oh, yes, to take the very first portion so that we can take care of the presidency.
Okay, if you allow me a second, just to pull up my version real quick. Okay, so at this point, I ask the floor, the board, for a nomination for president.
Mr. Superintendent, Dr. Masala.
Yes.
I am going to nominate Nadia Berry for the position of president for the Crestwood School District.
I object.
Crestwood School District Board of Education.
I object, Mr. President. I had my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. And you can speak right after I do.
Yeah, but I had my hand up before you.
I'm sorry that I did not see that.
He did.
Oh, well, I apologize to you.
So I'm going to be honest with the board. This puts me in a precarious situation as a superintendent. I'm going to be honest, and it puts me in a precarious situation as a superintendent to have to make a determination between.
Oh, you can call on Mr. Sabo, that's fine.
You know, I'm going to turn to legal and ask, what is your opinion?
Well, I was just going to say, so if there's a motion made and there's no second, which I did not hear a second, then you would.
But the concern is that Trustee Sabo had his hand up prior to, I did see Trustee Sable's hand go up. I did look at Trustee Garcia at the time. I just feel I'm in a precarious situation as the board, as a superintendent, to have to make a determination on who is going to make the motion at this time. I did see Trustee Sable's hand go up.
Well, I guess what I would say is,
I just followed procedure.
sure. You're going to be nominating somebody else?
I am.
Okay. So, this is sort of kind of odd. I don't
It's
actually
not
know
intentional.
procedurally.
I just follow procedure, that's
Sure.
all.
Procedurally, normally it would be up to the board president to decide who goes first. I understand there was some confusion.
Conflict of interest.
Sure. So what I would say is, setting aside whose hand went up first, if there's a motion made, there needs to be a second. If there's no second, the motion's tabled, and then you would go to is it Saba?
Why
Yes.
would you put
Okay.
procedure aside?
I'm sorry?
Why would you put procedure aside?
Well, I don't know what the procedure is here. According to your bylaws,
I'm just following the procedure. We've
Sure.
been instructed to raise our hands before speaking, and that's what I did. But board president just started speaking, so I was
Well,
just
then
following
I
procedure.
suppose you can make your motion, and we'll see who has a
No,
second.
as I stated, counsel, and I stated to you as well, I will yield to you, so that's not
I
an
appreciate
issue.
it, Mr.
Yeah, that's not an
I
issue.
appreciate that, President.
Yeah,
I just didn't, I didn't want to be the
appreciate it.
one
No,
that makes that
there's
decision.
no hard feelings. I was just.
There's no hard feelings to be made.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
did not see your hand, and I did not look there. I was looking at the superintendent.
Not an issue.
But as I said, I don't have an issue yielding.
Thank you.
Then
I would like to nominate Danielle Zayat for president of the board.
Support.
Motion's on the floor. Trustee Sabo nominates Danielle Zia for president. Trustee Fawaz supports. Is there discussion?
I think this puts us all in a position that.
Discussion item?
No, discussion, I was just waiting to go ahead and make another nomination.
We have to
But
vote.
we-
for-
oh, there's a vote. I
We have
apologize.
to vote.
Yeah.
There should be, I mean, you need to go through each nomination separately. There's a motion pending on the table.
We have a
So-
second.
And there was a second, so there was support, so there should be discussion, and then there should be a motion.
Well,
If
does
that
the-
motion does not
the person have
pass,
to
Be a
accept the
vote, correct?
nomination?
well, there's nothing in the bylaws about accepting the nomination, so she doesn't have to accept it. I mean.
No, I'm saying ahead of the nomination.
Do you accept the nomination?
I accept, but I think the easiest way to move forward is just vote.
If there's no discussion, then we vote. So,
Right.
no discussion? All right, so, Madam Secretary, take a roll on the
Oh,
vote.
God. Okay. We are on. Okay, so I just want to make sure I have everything documented. Okay. Mrs. Berry?
No.
Mrs. Elzayat?
Yes.
Mrs. Fawaz?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia?
No?
Myself? No. Mrs. Kaminsky?
No.
Mr. Saba?
Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Chair, your motion fails.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes, Dr. Masalam, I would like to nominate Mrs. Nadia Berry for the position of President for the School Board, Crestwood School Districts.
do we have a second?
Support.
So I have trustee, current President Garcia nominates Ms. Nadia Berry for president. Ms. Kaminsky is the second. Is there discussion? No discussion? Madam Secretary, can you please take roll?
I got this all messed up. Mrs. Berry?
Yes.
Mrs. Elzayat?
No.
Mrs. Fawaz?
No.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mrs. Kaminsky?
Yes.
Mr. Saba?
No.
Mr. Chair, your motion passes.
So the next position in order for vote would be the nomination for vice president. Do I have a motion? Mr. Garcia?
Yes, I would like to nominate Mrs. Sue Kaminsky to the position of Vice President, Crestwood School District Board of Education.
Okay. Motion's on the floor. Do we have a second?
Support.
Support. So trustee Garcia nominates Ms. Kaminsky to, trustee Kaminsky to be vice president, supported by trustee Berry. Do we have discussion? No discussion? Madam Secretary, can you please take roll?
Mrs. Berry?
Yes.
Mrs. Elzayat?
No.
Mrs. Fawaz?
No.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mrs. Kaminsky?
Yes.
Mr. Saba?
No.
Mr. Chair, your motion passes.
Next executive position is the nomination for treasurer. Ms. Kaminsky.
I'd like to nominate Mo Sabah.
I decline, thank you.
Motion was.
Due to conflict of interest, Ms. Kaminsky only.
Okay.
Due to the, I can discuss with you off later, but I cannot accept due to conflict of interest with my professional career.
Okay, that's why I thought you would be good at it.
I appreciate, no, it's the financial institution that the district deals with would be in direct conflict with my professional career.
I understand.
Thank you for the nomination.
No, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I nominate Danielle.
I decline.
Okay. Do we have another nomination on the floor?
I nominate Ed Garcia.
Support.
Okay. On the floor, trustee Sabo nominates Mr. Garcia, trustee Garcia, I gotta remember to say that, trustee Garcia for treasurer, supported by trustee Berry. Do we have discussion? No discussion? Discussion? Madam Secretary, can you please take roll?
Mrs. Berry?
Yes.
Mrs. Elzayat?
No.
Ms. Fawaz?
No.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mrs. Kaminsky?
Yes.
Mr. Saba?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, and our next position, nomination for secretary.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Garcia raised his hand first, my apologies.
I would like to nominate Najah Janoon for the position of Secretary, Crestwood School District Board of Education.
Support.
So we have nomination by trustee Garcia for trustee Janoon to be secretary, supported by trustee Berry. Do we have discussion? No discussion. Madam Secretary, can you please take roll?
Mrs. Berry?
Yes.
Ms. Elzayat?
Nope.
Ms. Fawaz?
No.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky?
Yes.
And Mr. Saba?
No.
Okay. Motion passes.
That was only 3 yeses.
Myself, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
So that,
Okay.
that concludes the selection for presidential, vice president, treasurer, and secretary for the Crestwood Board of Education. If you can please pass the gavel and take on the reign as president. Trustee Berry, President Berry. And then past President Garcia, if you can switch spots with Trustee
Absolutely.
Kaminsky, who is now the vice president.
Do we just take a 5-minute recess, if you don't mind?
Oh, sure.
You can call that, Madam President.
Sorry.
You're the president now, so you can call that.
Okay, if we can just take a 5-minute recess, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
All in support?
Aye.
Any nays? All right, 5-minute recess. Thank you. We are scheduled to begin at 7 p.m.
So who reads the recommendation item for the depositories?
It would be you.
Okay. Recommendation action. It is recommended that the JP Mortgage Chase Bank NA be approved as the depository of school district funds for the 21-22 school year.
Madam President,
Mr. Yes, Mr.
just
Dickerson.
for clarification, I believe we missed setting the regular meeting dates and times. That was the.
Correct. Okay, we can do that. I guess I missed that part.
Yeah.
The calendar is in here.
Yes.
Okay, so recommendation action that the Board of Education meeting calendar for the 21-22 school year be approved as presented. All in favor? Well, no, we need discussion.
I'll make the motion first. So I will motion, Madam President, that the Crestwood Board of Education meeting calendar for 2021-2022 school year be approved as presented.
Support. Any discussion? I wanted to discuss that if we can. Anybody have anything before I
I had a
ask?
couple questions.
Go ahead.
If you're gonna bring it to discussion, but did you wanna?
Go ahead, trustee Dent.
Okay,
I'll say
so
it.
my questions are, maybe they're for Gary, but, if, with the county extending the, virtual meetings, I know that we asked and we got an answer back, that, is that for all, is that for year round, or is that only until the county, extension expires? Correct?
It's only until the county extension.
Okay, perfect, that was my question.
Okay, my question is, when I look at this calendar, my concern is for all board members and myself, if we go ahead and put subcommittee meetings instead of study sessions, that's a concern to me because I think that we need that time to ask the questions, get the information before going in and voting on something. So if you look at the calendar, one meeting is one meeting is a subcommittee, the next would be a regular meeting, and we wouldn't have the study session, correct?
If I may explain, or?
Well, I was just going to say, subcommittees will only meet when a subcommittee needs to meet. So I think that is just being placed the way that I read that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it just gives the availability of having that subcommittee meet
So-
and put it on the record.
Correct. So the idea is this. When I spoke about this, former President Garcia and I had conversations on this. The idea was to create a more systemic process in terms of our meetings, so that we weren't having ad hoc or added subcommittee meetings at different times when something came up. The idea behind it is the reason why the study session is scheduled for the first meeting of each month, and then the subcommittee is scheduled for the second meeting of each month, is because we don't bring any hot topic items for agenda for vote the week of. We always bring it to study session prior to, unless if it's a new hire type of thing. Like for example, with the student code of conduct, the architect, none of this is for vote today. These would be things that would be vote for the next meeting. And the idea behind it is that if we have these subcommittee meetings scheduled on the same night as a board meeting, we put a title next to each one once it's approved, want to be policy, so on and so forth. But if policy doesn't need to meet, then it can become a study session. This was the conversation, but we are at the will of the board. Whatever the board chooses to go with, we will comply. We don't have an issue with it.
Go ahead, Ms.
Okay, thank you. My concern on it is, I think it's really important to look like we all are under the same information and we're a unified board. And I think that without having possibly a study session at some meeting where somebody can ask questions, then we leave it open to questions during the meeting. And I find that harder to deal with. But that's, you know, everyone should vote on that and see what they think. I just find it to be a problem.
And again, as stated, this was a discussion, it was a brainstorm. We believe we bring it to the board, let the board make a decision as a whole. Again, whatever the board decides to do, we are at the will of the board, we will follow through.
Yes, Ms. Alzan.
My question is, can we put committee meetings as a certain, like designate a day of the week for subcommittee meetings, and then each subcommittee would have a calendar like this for the year? And twofold, all of the board, whoever, whether you're on the committee or not, knows when the meetings are, and then we don't have to try to figure out was there a subcommittee meeting or whatever. They'll be scheduled, and then we can get, I know that Sudwell was asking to like minutes or notes or whatever. Keep it more organized that way, like where it'd be a designated day?
If I may respond, I don't have an issue with that either. The whole purpose is, there are times when subcommittee meetings come up, I may not be available, Penny may not be available. Sometimes I want the whole cabinet there and not just the person that's in charge of that, because other questions come up during that meeting that pertain to that subcommittee. So if we have an established a date monthly for specific subcommittees, if there needs to be a meeting, there's a meeting. If there's not, there's not. But my request is, whatever we do, it's consistent. And I want to reiterate, and I don't mean this with any disrespect to any board, but whomever is the subcommittee chair, they're responsible for the notes, not the administration. And the purpose behind that is, to be honest, is to protect the administration so that it is not said that certain notes were not put in the minutes. So I just want to make that clear as well.
Yeah, I'm just saying, for that very reason, that everybody has to be available.
Mhm.
If there's a calendar out that says whenever the subcommittee meets, then everybody knows to make themselves available. I don't know, just a thought.
Mr. Garcia?
Well, and I saw your hand on the shot, so I apologize. But also regarding this, even though it's stated here the 23rd subcommittee meeting, the subcommittee may not meet. I mean, ad hoc is not going to meet every month. There would be no reason to. They may, I think when I was on ad hoc, we might have met twice a year. But in order to have this here, it gives that flexibility to have it legally posted and noted, and gives that opportunity. I mean, that still could be a that still could be a study session meeting.
May I add a recommendation, Madam President?
Go ahead.
If we don't want to add additional meetings to the date and we want to maintain, what if we identified subcommittee meetings being from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., study session from 6 to 6:45? We still have our regular board meeting at 7, so you still, and the subcommittee meeting could be on the same date, so then you can knock things out in one day instead of having multiple days. I'm just trying to throw out ways to make it more consistent, that's all.
Ms. Janelle?
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea either, just because then you're not eliminating the study session, plus if you guys would already know that day there's a meeting anyway, so they would be made available, you would be available. I think as a board, we need to sit down and decide what subcommittees we want to have, because I think that there were some that never met. And that way we can then decide who's chairing it and.
Mr. Saba, did you have a question?
You actually stole my thunder. Speaking out of turn again there, Dr.
Sorry, my
Masawa.
apologies, trustee Fable.
I was going to recommend that. That's what I was going to suggest, so.
Different time?
My question in regards to the meeting minutes, if you look at bylaw 1180, it actually states the chair of the subcommittee is responsible for the minutes to provide to the board.
So if I may, my only concern is with time, like today, we are running over into the next meeting. So that was my concern. That's why I would like to see it on its own day. We can set a calendar if you guys agree to it and work from there.
I don't see why they couldn't be fluid. I mean, if you do have a subcommittee meeting and the members agree, you could add it to the day of the meeting or a separate day. If it doesn't work, you can say maybe we can meet on Monday instead of, or Thursday instead of Monday. I mean, if everybody agrees to it.
So can I just, sorry.
Ms. Janu, go ahead.
So can I just say that, why don't we first determine what subcommittees we're going, I mean, I don't want to vote on the calendar as it is right now with it, just in case it doesn't work, because if, let's just say Mr. Sable's chairing a committee, or a subcommittee, and then those days don't work. I don't know. I mean, I like the fact that it's at the same time, because you already have to be there.
Yeah.
I've attended subcommittees that I was not on at all, just because I wanted to hear the information that was being provided. So it does give you that opportunity as well, but time can sometimes be an issue, but I don't.
Trustee Kaminsky.
I think we have to vote on the dates for our
Yes.
regular
Okay.
Yeah,
meetings
that's what I was gonna say.
to get
So we
that
can-
done.
okay.
And I think we should remove the portion about the subcommittees to table that for further discussion.
So
Perfectly.
what I can do is I can amend my motion. Let me see here. How about if I just state for the record, Kristen, that the Crestwood Board of Education meeting calendar for the 2021-22 school year be approved as presented, but remove the subcommittee meetings listed at 5:30 PM until it is brought back to the administration for another motion.
Reverse back to
And put
study
that in
sessions.
study
Or
sessions.
reverse
Why not
this.
just keep it and amend it as necessary?
That's.
I would say reverse it back to study sessions, and then we can decide on.
And then you can, okay, so reverse it back to a study
Well,
session,
okay.
and it can be added in as needed.
So
And I
can we-
still support
What is
that.
the motion?
Can we just,
Before we vote again, what is the motion?
We'll just
we're going
remove the
back to the-
subcommittee title, make it a study session title, and then I can come back. Or as
So you're removing subcommittee altogether, or you're
For
keeping
now.
it?
We're going back to how it was.
how it was until I can come back to, have the administration bring something in a Friday flyer.
Well, honestly.
Although it's already there,
It's
so-
not us. This was just
We
a
have to have a
recommendation.
special
We're-
meeting.
We're at the will of the board to make a determination on how you would like those meetings to be. We're indifferent. We're just requesting that it be consistent. That's our only request.
instead of voting on this, why don't we just table it and just say that
You
we're
have to
good?
vote on the
We
calendar,
have to
though.
vote on the
The
calendar
'cause
for the
next meeting
regular
is-
general
is in-
meetings.
in August. so
Okay,
We have
but
to.
it's not written the way we're voting on it, though, so you want to just
But
amend it
we're
as
amending.
on the fly, and is that what you're recommending?
Yeah,
Yes.
just change the subcommittee meetings to study sessions, and then
Go back
the
to how
board
it
can
was.
decide
We can
later
do
on
that.
how they're gonna fit that in. But
think
as
it
long
was-
as we have the calendar moving into August,
That's fine.
then the public is aware that you have your standard meetings and they're official.
Okay. So just for clarity, and more for people watching at home too, what is the motion?
We will remove the subcommittee meetings, place it back to study sessions, which is the original calendar, 2020, 2021.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
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 Aye, sorry.
Okay, motion passes.
Well, let me,
Well, was there any nays?
Any nays?
No, I don't
Everybody's
think
aye?
so.
Okay.
did you?
I said yes.
Oh,
Okay,
so
I
everybody
didn't
was good.
hear.
No, I didn't, okay, so we're good.
Okay, there was
Mr. Chair,
one more, and
motion.
that was the
It was.
The
that-
approval of the
Chase.
approval of the
stories.
Chase Bank.
I don't know if it's, yeah,
Okay.
Bank of Deposit.
that's the one.
We got Bank of Deposit and
Nope, that's not the one.
That's it.
Okay, all right, the next one is approval of depositories for school funds, JP Morgan Chase Bank.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Kaminsky.
I make the motion that's recommended that JP Morgan Chase Bank and A, be approved as the depository of the school district funds for the 2021-2022 school year.
Support.
Number 2 also. That follows. That's part of the motion.
No, it's two separate.
It's two separate
recommendations.
ones.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it said sub.
That's
My
okay.
apologies.
That's okay.
Support?
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
I abstain due to conflict of interest.
Motion passes. Okay, we're done with that portion. We're going into our.
We have one
No,
more.
there's one
We have
more.
one more action item.
Right there.
Okay, approve, there's another depository, okay. Approval of depository for school funds, Melof, Michigan Liquid Asset Fund.
Madam President?
Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, I'll recommend that the Michigan Liquid Assets Funds be approved as the depository for school district funds for the 2021-2022 school year.
Support.
It is recommended that the Melof Liquid Assets Funds be approved as a depository of school funds for the 21-22 school year. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, thank
Madam
you. That
Chair?
finishes, now we're
need
gonna
to
adjourn. Okay?
Madam-
I'm learning this as I go. Adjournment?
Madam Chair, I'll motion
Yes.
that we adjourn.
Support.
Okay.
All those in
Ms.
favor?
Janoon, please take roll. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we're moving on to the next part.